Welcome to another episode of Breaking Bread. I'm here with author David Biro. How you doing, David?
I'm good, thank you.
So David and I have a really funny story of how we got to meet. We both have the same Italian-American publicist. So Italians clearly stick together, and Emmy, his publicist, was actually part of the reason why that I'm a published author. So I'm thrilled to have one of our clients here, and I'm thrilled that I have another talented author here.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Emmy.
Shout out to Emmy is right. So I think the audience would probably want to know first is that you were recently on TV.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Rosanna Scotto, Good Morning, New York. It was very cool.
Talk about Italians, right?
Yeah. Yes. And she sort of grew up in the same neighborhood. I'm from Bay Ridge.
Oh, nice.
And apparently that's where she's from.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice. Connection already. Yeah.
Did you talk about your Italian ancestry with her at all, or hers?
Not really. Not really. Yeah. So I don't know if you know this, but
What's up?
actually Biro is not Italian.
Really?
No. So Biro is the Hungarian part of my, everybody.
Really?
Yes, everybody thinks the Biro is the Italian part of my heritage, but it's not true. My father was born in Hungary. He's a Hungarian Jew, was in a concentration camp.
Wow.
Actually came to this country in 1956 when the Russians invaded Hungary. It's my mother, who's a Macchiaroli. There's the Italian part. But Biro is actually a very common Hungarian name, but everybody assumes that I'm Italian.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that. You you got the Italian look a little bit. I would have never guessed that Biro was Hungarian. I don't know about you.
It's Hungarian.
Yeah.
So that's I'm kind of a mixed breed. Like probably many people are.
I won't hold it against you. I promise
that's
you.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't tell Emmy.
Yeah. Right.
Please.
That's hysterical.
Yes.
So, your books. How would you say that your half Italian ancestry?
Yes.
Kidding, but
yes.
No. How would you say that your Italian ancestry influenced your writing?
I mean, Italy, Italian culture, Italian people have always been a huge kind of part of my life. I mean, growing up in Brooklyn, most of my friends were Italian. I mean, Bay Ridge is a pretty mixed. There's a lot of different kinds of people that live in Bay Ridge, which is really cool, actually.
It is.
But there's a very vocal Italian
Yeah.
part. And, I mean, most of my friends were Italian. Actually, most of my parents' friends were Italian. And, in fact, a funny story is that most of my father, who was also a doctor, I took over his practice in Bay Ridge, most of his friends were Italian. And they belonged, his two closest friends, belonged to this Italian club in the village, an eating club. It's called Progressive Era. Yeah. And they wanted him to become a member. But, to become a member, you have to be Italian through and through. They passed Biro off.
Really?
Yes, and we became members of the Progressive Era Club. And it was cool because we would go there, and it was an eating club, basically.
Yeah. What else would
Italian,
it be, right? Yeah.
Italians like
Right.
to eat, and it was kind of cool.
That's hysterical. So
yes.
your dad is an honorary Italian.
Is an
I love
honorary Italian, yes. But it's my grandfather who really was. He's from Naples, and he was a huge influence on me. I mean, my grandfather practically lived with us most of the time, and he was a huge influence. He was kind of a typical Italian guy. He was very sort of warm. He had a temper. He had a temper. He was great. Loved to eat. Loved to tease me.
Yeah.
But was your typical Italian guy. I mean, he used to he used to actually make ravioli, homemade ravioli.
Really?
Yeah, I used to help him while he was teaching me the times table. We would make the ravioli. We had trays of the ravioli. Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Does it get more old school and original than like that? Like
No.
that's a real
Yes.
Italian American
Yes.
experience that you had.
Yes. And as I said, many of my friends were Italian. So, it's always been a big part of my growing up. And then the other thing that happened, so it was always sort of unconscious. I just kind of gravitated towards Italian people more so than others. But then I went to school I went for a semester in Spain.
Wow.
And in Spain to learn Spanish, which I never learned. But I met two Italian people from Rome, actually. A girl who I would go out with, and
Lucky dog.
yes, Barbara from Rome. And so she then invited me to Rome and to stay with her parents, and that was like huge because from then on, it wasn't just this sort of unconscious thing. At that point, I was like, I want to do everything Italian.
Yeah.
I started studying Italian. I started reading books.
So all it took was an Italian girl.
It was the Italian girl, but that's when it consciously became like I became this huge sort of Italophile. Reading Italian books. I then went for a year abroad during college. I spent in Rome. And yeah, so all is this to say that it's had a huge sort of impact on me. It's had, and you could see whenever I'm writing books, there's a huge Italian theme. Whether it was the first book that we were talking about that involves a young kid in Italy who gets sick. And
wait, I don't mean to cut you
yes.
off, but we never said the title.
Yes.
That was off the air.
That was okay.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the first novel that I published was this Magnificent Dappled Sea, and that actually had to do with a young boy in Italy who gets sick and ultimately needs a transplant, and he gets one from a rabbi in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. And what's cool about this, and very Italian, is that the people in the village are so grateful, grateful that the boy survives and he's living and whatnot, that they invite the rabbi and the family to the village and throw a huge party for the rabbi. And there is, this actually has a sort of true story. There was something in the paper that dealt with something like this actually happened that I sort of took and used as the basis for that book. So that's straightforward, Italian boy. I describe a lot of the Italian life in the village. This book, one of the main characters is an Italian-American woman who I kind of base on my grandmother. She's also very good-natured, very warm, but meddlesome. She meddles in the lives of the other two. So they're three close friends here. And yeah, so I mean, everything I write really has a strong sort of Italian theme. Yeah.
So in addition to being an author, I know you briefly mentioned this, you're also a doctor, and you come from a family of doctors.
I am, yes. So, and certainly that's an important aspect
of course.
Of
my dad always told me, he goes, make friends with doctors and lawyers.
Yeah, so my father was a dermatologist. Ultimately, I went into his business, and it's really cool because I have patients that were his, and so I'm in the office and he's not around anymore. Passed away a couple of years ago.
I'm sorry to hear
But
that.
yeah, but it's amazing. My patients will all of a sudden start talking about my father. Oh my God, your father was so great, or this or that. So yeah, basically I kind of divide my life between doctoring and writing. So I sort of write in the mornings, and then I go to work in the evenings and in the afternoons and evenings.
So you are officially the second author that we've had on this podcast.
Okay.
And I always like to ask other writers about their writing process.
Yes.
So you're a doctor. You're obviously very busy.
Yes.
Where do you find the time to write books?
No, I try to have a schedule, and it hasn't always been that easy, but now I've been practicing now for 25, 30 years already, and so I'm able to carve out the time. So I write in the mornings, and I don't go to the office until noonish.
Okay.
And then I'm there till now, which is about 8 o'clock or so. So yeah.
Now you're a dermatologist.
I am.
So what's your opinion on all these viral pimple popping videos?
You know what?
I gotta ask you that question.
I know.
gotta ask you.
My patients love this stuff. I've never seen Dr. Pimple Popper.
You've never seen Dr. Pimple Popper?
Dr. Pimple Popper. I know. But I have patients that always tell me how cool watching Dr. Pimple Popper. And in fact, sometimes want to video me in doing a surgery to try to sort of mimic.
Do you
Dr.
say yes
Pimple.
or no?
I say fine. Yeah, I don't mind. It's cool. But I've never seen Dr. Pimple Popper. But she really is. It's a she.
Yeah,
It's a
she.
It's a she. But she certainly put dermatology right up in the mainstream because it's become
I mean,
huge, right?
Yeah, I actually think if this podcast does as well as I'm hoping that it does, you're gonna get your own show.
Okay. All right.
David Biro, Pimple Popper,
Pimple Popper number 2.
Yeah.
Junior Pimple Popper.
I got it. I got it.
All right.
I know a guy. We'll get it all set up. We'll get everything taken care of.
Yeah. So I do some pimple popping, but the majority of the things that I do are more cancer related. So I do a lot of skin cancer surgery. A lot of my patients are on the older side. And this book has 3 older women. Actually, a lot of the inspiration comes from patients of mine.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Not to change the subject, but I got this mole on my back that I want you to check out.
We could do that. Step inside my
I'm sure you
office.
get that joke all the time.
Yeah, I
right?
always get that. Yeah. It's not a joke, actually.
Yeah.
So
Really?
if you really want to have a mole evaluation, it's quite all right.
There we go.
We could do that.
Yeah. I haven't been to a dermatologist in a long, long time, so maybe I need it.
It could be part of the Dr. Pimple Popper show.
Right.
Yeah. We could show them my
right.
Bona
Your
fides.
office.
Yeah.
I just hit 22,000 on TikTok. We can make a TikTok
All
about
right.
it.
All right. Sounds good.
Anthony gets his pimples popped live on the air.
My kids do a lot of TikToking. I actually don't. But who knows? I help Daniel. I have so I have twin boys, Daniel and Luca. And Daniel loves to make TikToks, and occasionally I have to hold the camera for him. But yes,
that's great. I always bust my roommate's chops constantly to hold the camera and to film for me, like every second of every day. Look, he's like staring at me right now. I'm always busting his chops, like, hey, film this. It'll be the stupidest things. I can't even tell you, but content is is king. That's the saying.
All right.
But so you're 2 books in. Are you thinking about a third?
I have a third that's already out to publish to try to sell, and
really,
I'm writing a 4th. Yes.
So you have the manuscript, or you have the
manuscript
project?
is already out.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I'm working on something now. I have to say that my focus has been a little bit weak these days. I don't know. The COVID threw me off a bit.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably not alone in that.
No, you're
Yeah,
definitely not alone. I
yeah,
haven't written anything.
yeah.
Well, newspapers and stuff,
Yeah,
but not,
yeah.
creative writing.
Been reading a lot, but I will. I have a project, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start soon, and of course, it's gonna have a Bay Ridge theme, and
Hey.
B, an Italian theme. Is it?
Hey.
Yeah. So,
So, like, your third book, do you mind telling the audience a little bit about it, or can you not? I'm not sure if they're, you don't want to let the
you
premise
know,
out that much. Just a little sneak peek, maybe.
no sneak peek for this.
Okay.
No sneak
Fair
peek
enough.
for this.
Fair enough.
I don't want to jinx myself.
Fair enough. I don't blame you. I'm a superstitious man myself.
Yes. But I'm working on a book. My kids. So the boys, as I said, I have twin boys.
Mm-hmm.
They are off to college. This just
God
started.
bless. Knock on wood.
Yeah, just started college, and so the house is very quiet. That's all. My wife and I have just those two, so it's a little strange, but now I have no excuse to really get cracking on the book. I should mention, by the way, the other biggest part of my Italian connection is my wife. I never married the Roman girl.
Yeah.
I married an Italian from Westfield, New Jersey.
Wow.
And my wife, Daniela, has always worked for Italian fashion companies.
Really?
Yes. So she started with Ferragamo, then she worked for Armani.
You might have to bring her in here.
Yes, she might be more interested.
Yeah.
Gucci.
Yeah.
And she's now actually back to Ferragamo. But one of the great things is that, she was always traveling back and forth to Italy. So I would always, be like, yes.
Yeah, of course.
I'm coming.
That's golden.
So yeah, it was always really good. And then, I would go with her, on her work trips and hang out, and then maybe she could take a couple of days afterwards, and we would go. So I did a lot of nice travels to Italy.
That's awesome. Like, talk about, you meet a nice Italian girl who you end up marrying. On top of it, she has comp trips to Italy.
Totally
awesome.
amazing.
I'm jealous.
Yes,
I'm jealous.
Yes.
So, is there any way she can get me a discount on like a Gucci
don't
bag?
know.
Got to get a couple. I have a couple girls I want to impress.
Unfortunately, she's no longer at Gucci.
I'm just teasing.
Ferragamo, though. Maybe if you treat her respectfully, and you offer her one of those cannolis that you offered me.
Absolutely.
It's very possible.
We have tonight cannolis from Fortunato's, one of my favorite bakeries on the planet. Just a couple minutes away. You better have one after. I know you don't want to have one on the air.
I'm having a cannoli.
We're going to close out the evening with some beautiful pastries from Fortunato's. Like I said, 5 minutes away. Absolutely love it there. David, have you ever been to Fortunato's?
I have not, but
this is a great taste test live on the air.
It's
have your first cannoli from Fortunato's.
All right, let me
courtesy
sample.
of the team at Breaking Bread.
Where is this located?
Around the block.
Okay, but it's Williamsburg. It's not Bay Ridge.
This is the most authentic
that it can get. Can't be as good.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right, I'll see. That is good.
Right? You can't go wrong.
Not that it.
Now, I'm on a diet, but I'm gonna have one of those.
Cheers.